too much. We're going to keep talking about everything that we need to talk about in regards to just making sure that we moving forward with our goals and objectives and how we're going to do that. For me, speaking for myself, because it's what I got to do. If we're going to do Moody Mondays, we're going to do what Moody does in order to keep his mental health in a certain standard and a certain level of excellence. It's just because that's what we try to strive for, excellence, right? And one of the things that I always do is number one. So start listening. These are Moody Monday ways to stay from being crazy. Number one, keeping a journal. That's something that I feel like a lot of people have definitely, I've seen over the past couple of years, have learned to utilize and use that skill in order to just keep moving forward in things that they want to do. Whether it's just jotting down just for fun, jotting down just kind of like think your thoughts, keep your thoughts organized, is great. That's something that I've been doing for a long time. Whether it's just writing down, like I said, to organize and plan my day, or also just, like I said, just kind of help my thoughts come out. The one thing that I noticed whenever I start journaling is that I was able to kind of see the pattern in my thinking and my thoughts and where I might have went wrong or I might have went right, for in that case as well. So one of the things that I feel like that has helped me a lot in my past, present, and will continue to in the future is journaling. Having that opportunity to just kind of sit with yourself and see what you want to do and just sit with yourself and able to evaluate yourself and read your own story. That's something that I hit on and I talk about very often, is that we all are in a story. We're all our own star in our own movie story, whatever the case may be. And that's the thing you got to look at in regards to like just kind of looking at your life, especially when it comes to like just maintaining a level of clarity in your mind so you're not overwhelmed with yourself. Is being able to look at step outside of yourself, step outside of where you're at in your life, and just being able to have that eagle's view, that bird's eye view of like seeing your movie from up top, seeing your character, seeing who you are and who you continue to be if you go down this certain timeline, or if you keep going down this script and reading the same script, keep going down the same storyline. A lot of times for me, like I said, that's where I see a lot of the patterns that I have. Because a lot of times, I always tell people it's easy for us to see other people's problems, but somehow we're not able to see our own. And I tell you this because we're able to have that step out of vision in order to like see those things. But the thing is, it doesn't matter whether it's somebody else or yourself. We all have the same capability in order to kind of see ourselves through our own story. Because a lot of times, like I said, how many times have we said something and we were like, man, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I said this. Oh, I wish I had said this. I wish I had took the time to just kind of think that through. A lot of times it's all it takes is just a couple of seconds to just kind of sit down and think those moments through, so you'll know what the next scene is going to look like in your movie. And having the opportunity to just see yourself through the rest of your movie and the rest of your story allows you to write your own story. All too often, we let other things or other people or even our emotions write our story for us. And that's something that I feel like we don't want us to do. So number one, I always tell everybody, encourage everybody, whenever we're making these mental health steps, because like I said, we have those resolutions, we have these relationships that we want to continue to build on and make set boundaries. But it first all starts with us. I'm a firm believer in just making sure that you take accountability and whatever you're doing. It don't matter what the case is, whatever it may look like now or later, just having that responsibility that you're going to take on things. Number two, don't compromise yourself. This is a big thing for me in my life these last 3 years that I really like let that really set down on me. Just like not compromise myself. A lot of times we say we're gonna stand on certain things, but at the end of the day, we get to a certain point that we end up compromising ourselves because we base our reaction to whatever the decision is. And for me, that's what a lot of times my confusion comes in whenever I feel like I compromised myself and I've done something not necessarily out of character, but just something, well, I guess you could say out of character, keeping with the storyline theme and a story theme, is doing something that I know that my character would not be doing had it been a different situation. So just compromising myself. And a lot, we all do it, compromising morals, compromising, certain things that we allow in our life or we allow people to do to us, and that's one of those things that I feel that a lot of people just, you gotta, pick a side, as they would say. You can't straddle the fence, and I feel like sometimes we straddle the fence a little too much and we call it, just like want to be up there and not being biased, not want to, see how things play out. But At the end of the day, like I said, being able to not compromise yourself, not compromising your integrity, not compromising, like I said, your mental space for who or whomever, that's something that plays a big part in my life and something that will continue to play a big part in my life. Because like I said, I want to be the one that's going to know my character. I know who my character is, and I know what I stand for, and I know what I don't stand for. So just being able to stay in those moments where it comes to where I have to make a decision, then it's a no-brainer and not compromise myself. So that's number two. Number three. Number three is something that I feel that I guess it kind of ties in with two as well. What am I saying? Not compromise myself, and that's making your yes to your yeses and your no's your no's. You know, one of the biggest things is having your word, and also not being, and just standing on your word. For me personally, I was someone who had to really look at themselves and start realizing that I was like a people pleaser, and I was making it seem as though that I was. Doing it for people like I was a servant. Like I know I legit love servanthood, like I said. But at the same time, I also realized that a lot of the things that I was saying that I was just being helpful and being servant was not really me just being a people pleaser, just being in a position that I didn't want to say no. I just wanted to say yes to everybody. And ultimately saying yes too many times or even saying no in certain situations, those put me in some tough situations to where I eventually, like I said, I compromised myself, but I was not being honest with myself, keeping it real with myself, and telling myself that I was compromising myself, versus just telling myself that, oh, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, which I was. But at the end of the day, I also knew that I was being people pleasing in a sense, and that's something for me that I see it happens a lot of times with a lot of people, especially the ones that I have a friend of mine. He was open up to me and shared to me about how that's something that he struggles with, because he struggles with wanting everyone to like him. It really matters to him on a big scale that people view him in a certain way. They view his character a certain way. They view him in a light that was going to be reflective of how he's giving it out. So when that often happens, he's a lot of time, like he said, people pleasing, and he comes to the point to where it's so stressful on him. So he puts so much weight on his shoulders that it gets to the point to where it's kind of like I said, detrimental to what it happens in the first time. He just continues to go down the hole of, oh, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? And he really never gets to a point to where it comes full circle that he actually gives himself that own clarity or that own um, just applaud on himself, because it's always a continue of what if, am I doing enough? And that's the one thing about that. When I say it kind of goes in with number two is when you're not compromising yourself, it also helps you eliminate those certain in questions that you might have in those moments. Because all things, all actions and decisions, we basically base them off our standard of our code of living and what do we look like in certain situations. So whenever it comes to a moment that, yeah, it may seem like an opportunity to say yes and help someone, but then also it might be compromising yourself because it might not be the time for you to do that, and a lot of times we put so much responsibility on ourselves that we feel like we're the ones that has to, save this person. And that's something else for me that I had to figure out, because I had to get to the point because it was, I felt like I was responsible for like other people's stories, and that was one of the things I feel like hinders a lot of people. They get to the point to where they feel like if they have to people please and make a certain decision because they take on their weight on the rest of the people, that person's outcome in their life or what's going to happen next. And for me, it happened a lot in regards to like business. I know a lot, especially like entrepreneurs out there, are listening to KLEK 102.5 FM. And one of the things about entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, people are, it's a tough business. You find that you have that love and you want to be out there and you want to push whatever product or service that you want to. And a lot of times you get to an instance to where people will, kind of guilt you into thinking, oh, you have to do this in order to help them. And you want to help them because, like I said, you started a business for certain needs and certain services. But, at the end of the day, a business is a business, it's transactional. And so when those moments come where, like those people may not be able to pay or something, and they might be a little bit shorter, they need a little extra time, or they just want a discount, whatever the case may be, you feel like, oh, if I don't do this for this person, then their life is going to turn out XYZ. So that's one of the things, we start building out our own, we start building their story out, telling their story. And at the end of the day, that's not our responsibility. That's not our, we don't have no control over that. We barely got control of our own life. How we gonna control somebody else? Like, I mean, we got one pencil for my paper, that's for my life. And it's hard to like take that off our own shoulders to where we feel like we gotta write the lives to somebody else. So that's a lot of times why we get it to the point, like I said, just bringing it back for a circle to the people pleasing, is because a lot of times that goes with, we feel like we're having to write the story somebody else. And if their story doesn't come out good, then it's on us. And then honestly, that says a lot about a lot of people, because everybody wants a happy ending. Everybody wants to happily ever after, whatever the case may be. So a lot of times we do take on that happily ever after for other people, when in reality, we can't do no more than what is in front of us. And like I said, just making a decision that's not going to compromise yourself, that's not going to put you in a situation where you can't continue to do what you have set forth in, then it's not worth it. I understand that, you gotta at some point just trust that you're gonna do whatever the best of your capabilities. Just like how we talked about friendship and knowing what kind of person to support and who you are that support in that person's life. That's what you do. When you do that, then you just gotta keep on moving. I know it may be tough. It may be to a point to where you feel like, man, could have been something more I could have done. But honestly, if you sit down, you already know yourself. Those are certain things that you're gonna keep pushing forward to where you can't even, you don't want to have to question yourself. Because like I said, a lot of the time I feel we get into these different mental spaces because we start questioning ourselves. We start we don't be assured of who we are, what we stand in our mind. Cause then it just get it out of control to where we just don't know what we're doing. So I'm encouraging everybody to just make sure you do these 3 things that we just talked about real quick. I'm gonna leave it at 3 because I love 3. So we're just gonna go 1, just make sure you keep it in a journal. 2, don't compromise yourself. And 3, try not to people please. Let your yes be your yeses and your no be your no's. And those are my 3 things right there. Now that we need to talk about that, let's start moving forward a little bit, and let's go ahead and address something that has been in the news lately. At this point, I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about the Tyrese Nichols situation, and that was one of those things that I didn't want to like get off this call this morning and not bring it up and not discuss it, and not to really go in depth of it. It's just more or less of looking at the temperature of how we as people reacted to it. It was definitely something that took us all by, quote unquote, surprise. And not even necessarily one of those things to where it was a surprise that it was something that involved the police or that led to a situation where another Black man was killed. It was one of those things that, for me, if I'm speaking personally, the most thing that surprised me the most was that it was other Black people on somebody else that was another Black. It was a Black man that killed another Black man. And for me, I've been in situations where I look at that as like the family, someone you killing and harming within the family. And it's a different kind of like feeling versus whenever it's somebody from the outside, a different race or a different, whatever the case may be, from the outside doing something harm to that person. But when you do it within the family, it kind of hits different. Like I said, I have a own personal situation where it was something like that, where someone killed somebody within the family. And it's one of the times that, you're not even sure at that point, things don't make sense. We want to find like reason. We want to find, just not justify. We want to think of things that can, make it make sense in a way to how do we continue to move forward. One of the first things I'm not gonna feel emotionally wise was like embarrassment. I felt embarrassed that we gotta sit here and get on television again and speak on having like another Black man killed, and then to see who it was, that's embarrassing. I don't care who it is. I'd say that to anybody, that's not a good representation of what we want to do, especially in this month of Black History Month moving forward. And that's not the right side of history that we want to be on. So just making sure that, not to go, like I said, too in depth with it. The one thing that I did see and I applauded people was they were making their decision whether or not they were going to watch the video or not watch the video. And that was one of the things that I applaud everybody who took that time to not just watch just because, and just really taking that time to evaluate themselves and really know that, that could be something that's going to be triggering, and then that's something that, they want to go down their path. Some people did, some people didn't. And I applaud everybody who made that decision and took that time and they took it to themselves to have that moment of clarity to know, like, it wasn't worth it or not worth it. Because it don't, whether you watch it, you didn't watch it, it doesn't say anything about your cause or your sorrow or condolences towards Tyree Nichols and his family and everything like that. It don't say that at all. It's just saying that, there are certain moments that, like I said, we can't be everything and we can't be, obligated to follow the script. Sometimes. So with that being said, like I said, just making sure that everything that we continue to do, whatever the case may be, is making sure that we're moving forward in a manner that is like making sure that we're doing the best that we can. And like I said, I can't harp on that enough for just giving those roses to everybody who took the time to make their mental health something that was on the front, even despite the magnitude of the situation. Speaking of Black History Month, I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit. I got a question in one of my on my messages on my social media. Moody was here. Moody was here. That's on Instagram and everything else. Y'all make sure y'all follow me, and make sure y'all follow 102.5 KLAKFM. Cause also we got Moody was here coming back this Thursday. Just a quick little plug right there. I know y'all didn't see it coming, but it came and it came and it came and saw. But one of the questions that someone asked me was, what are the do's and do nots of Black History Month? And this person in particular, like I said, they're anonymous, but they were asking just because they wanted to they are a business owner, and they're like not a Black business owner, they're a white business owner. And they was like, well, what are the do's and do nots of Black History Month? And I'm gonna tell you, and I thought long and I thought hard about this, and I try to figure out, what something that I can say to make sure that I do my part in this Black history world to make sure that I move forward in everything that I can push with my agenda, because I have a voice, and I know with voice and with it has power, and with power comes great responsibility. So the do's and don't of Black History Month, particularly for white businesses: do's, hire Black people; don't fire Black people. So I think those are one of the two biggest things. Just making sure that, first of all, let's give a shout out to that person who definitely asked the question. And I would just encourage anybody who in those situations where they really don't know what to do and don't not do in those situations, is to make sure that they, just kind of ask. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people in their office and people who around them of diverse cultures that they ask, kind of what they feel is, appropriate. I know one of the biggest headlines that I caught the news this morning or the other day was Miami-Dade County. They had a police car that they put in Black History bubble wrap, and so a lot of people really want to feel that. Most people wasn't feeling it like that at all. They didn't like that gesture. I'm pretty sure they had good intentions, but that was one of the things, just kind of like, I would say, reading the room. A lot of people weren't happy with the wrap that they put on the car that represented Black History Month. But, like I said, that comes with making sure you have people around you that are able to, one, speak up and, speak up for the culture, and a point to where they're able to just make sure that you're helping others and making sure you're not representing yourself in a bad light. But like I said, do's and don'ts, that's one of the things that I feel like it's kind of, depending on who you're around and everything like that. But the best thing, just like this person did, was just to ask questions. So that's what I would encourage people to do. But you know what, people, man, it's another Moody Monday, man. It's about my time, it's about ready to get to a point to where I close out my day, close out my minutes of the day, man. And like I said, I want to make sure everybody, 102.5 FM, man, y'all make sure y'all go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and make sure you continue to share make sure we continue to educate, make sure we continue to empower everybody. And of course, we got to make sure we entertain, because it's one of the things that we want to do, no matter what the case may be. We want to make sure we keep bringing you quality shows, and the best way to do that, and the best way for us to do that, is to make sure you continue to like hop on the link and donate. And we need that in order to keep pushing forward as a nonprofit. But like I said, just making sure you just do it. We do what you can in the meantime to keep yourself in a mental space to wherever you got on. So you know what it is. So in the meantime, in between time, man, the one and only Moody was here.